then the united power of the Arab world under Salahuddin. So some intelligent historians later on came to realize what had happened. One of them is Lane Poole on the history of Saracens. In his history of Saracens, he mentions this and analyzes it very intelligently. He said what most historians have missed, what had happened, what revolutionary incident had taken place in those days was this, that through the superior wisdom and intelligence of Prince Salahuddin, the weapon of Western diplomacy was captured by him, and the West was forced to take the weapon of rude and crude opposition of the Muslim world, which was previously being used by them. So only there was an exchange of weapons. And he says that it is all myth about Salahuddin, that he was a man of great prowess and he defeated with mere sheer force of his own bodily strength and the superiority of his armies. He said no, it was, if you analyze all the facts, you will have to come to agree that it was a far superior diplomacy which he wielded against the Western powers. He divided them. He never permitted them to come to bring a united front to Islam. And he united his own people. And during the wars, his strategy was always superior. So if it could be done in those days, it can be done today. Because these weapons are timeless weapons. Weapons of superior wisdom, weapons of superior strategy, weapons of superior diplomacy, and the physically weak people have no way out except to adopt these weapons, which they can easily do. Material superiority they can never have in the foreseeable future at least. That is out of question. To fight against the West and to beg them for the weapons to fight against them. All the industry of modern warfare is situated in their countries, either in the East or in the West. And they are fighting the cause of Islam against these two big enemies and selling their oil and begging for weapons in exchange for them. What is happening in exchange? The fact is that whatever they have to sell to the West, that is the oil, that is sold mostly for buying weapons. And those weapons are only to be threateningly wielded against the West, but actually to be used against the Muslim brothers. This is the sum total of the Muslim strategy of today. And the net result ultimately is this, that all their oil is being used to burn themselves, to scorch the earth they live. And the West is happily selling them the obsolete weapons they otherwise had to send to the ocean bottoms, to sink to the ocean bottoms. Previously, the Western advanced countries, when they invented new weapons, new rifles replaced the previous rifles and new rockets replaced the previous rockets, they had no use for the old weapons. What they had to do was to put them to sink them into the seabed. And in large quantities weapons were being thrown in the sea previously. Now they have got a bed above the sea level. And for that they have also, in exchange they buy oil from them. So in this situation, an explosion here and there, a hijacking of a plane of some Americans or some Europeans, what result can it produce? What change can it bring about in this situation? The only thing which will be done would be that a propaganda weapon handed over to the West to be used further against the Muslim world. So I don't believe in these sentimentalities and things. One have to be a realist, analyze the situation and see what can be done about it, and things can be done. I'm quite certain. If 10% of the Arabs today become Ahmadis, the thing will be transformed completely. The whole new map would emerge from there. But unfortunately, the most loyal friends are looked at as the greatest enemies, and the bitter enemies are looked at as loyal friends. The whole thing is turned upside down, unfortunately. What was the message of Islam? What was that Islam created in the early days? A society which in a nutshell is described as Ashiddau alal kuffari rohamau bainahum. They are firm against their enemies, united and firm, and very soft and kind within themselves. It is exactly the opposite now. They are very firm against their own Muslim brothers and very soft to the outsiders. Their friendships are looking outwards and their enmities are looking inwards. So without changing this reality, how can you bring about a change by exploding a plane and killing a few innocent people? Any other question? Azhar, have you come loaded with questions or no?
I'm afraid not. I normally listen to your cassettes and
I see. You are in contact throughout? You have been in contact while you were there?
Yes.
Through cassettes?
Yes.
Who sent you?
Well, we receive your Friday cassettes.
I see.
Regularly.
I
and
see.
sometimes somebody brings across your
Right.
other cassettes.
Please. And how's your child?
Alhamdulillah.
All right?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Any questions, please? Bashir Yat Sahib, it seems that nobody is interested in asking a question, so it's your turn. Sorry, just a minute. There are two hands raised in the meantime. Please, Zahid. Zahid.
I was reading one of Hazur's lectures, and at one point it became... I was reading one of Hazur's lectures.
Which one?
Some distinctive features of Islam.
Distinctive features of Islam, yes, right.
At one point it became difficult for me to understand.
Yes.
And
would you read the passage?
yes, I will.
Yes.
After explaining the underlying philosophy, Hazur said, this is why Islam does not specify a particular form of government.
Correct.
It neither presents a democratic or socialist form, nor recommends kingship or dictatorship.
Correct.
Instead, Islam imposes the condition that no matter what the form, the responsibilities of a government will always be discharged justly and fairly. I would like to request Hazur to explain this statement from three different angles.
From?
Three different angles. Different angles. First of all,
yes.
If this is the case,
yes,
that Islam does not recommend any particular form
of government, correct,
then how can then we interpret the words kum and amanat in the verse Inna Allaha yamurukum an tu'addul amanate ila ahliha?
Tu'addul
amanate ila
amanate ne, tu'addul amanate ila ahliha, right. It has nothing to do with that. I follow your point. Now please sit down. Just sit down here. You may have to rise for the second part of your question again. The fact is, amana is a word which has many, many connotations. One of the connotations of the word amana has been understood to be the